I want to welcome everyone that's joining us on Fox Sports West. Terry Smith with you here on the Angels Baseball Radio Network. The lineup cards are getting ready to be exchanged at home plate, and let's run down today's starting lineups for the visiting Angels, who so far this spring come in with a Cactus League record of 2 wins, 2 losses, and 1 tie. Most of the regulars in the lineup for the Angels today. David Fletcher will be leading off for the Halos. He'll be at second base. Mike Trout plays center field and bats number 2. Dexter Fowler will be in right field for the Angels, batting third. Albert Pujols will be the Angel cleanup batter. He'll be at first base, batting number 4. Justin Upton in left field will hit 5th. Jose Iglesias, the shortstop, will bat number 6. The catcher, Kurt Suzuki, will bat 7th. Max Stassi seeing his first action this spring. Won't be catching, he'll be DHing, but Stassi will get a chance to bat out of the 8 hole. And playing third base for the Angels today will be Luis Rengifo. On the mound for the Angels will be Shohei Ohtani, the 26-year-old right-hander, 6'4", 210 pounds. First start this spring for the Angels. Ohtani only started 2 games last year for the Angels, struggled in each of them, worked just an inning and 2/3 altogether last season, and then was eventually shut down as far as pitching. Ohtani gave up 3 hits and 7 earned runs in the inning and 2/3 a year ago. Had a high ERA of 37.80. But all indications are Ohtani is back on track from a pitching standpoint. He's looked good in workouts so far this spring, and shortly we'll get a chance to see how he fares in his 2 innings against the A's. The lineup for Oakland today looks like this. Mark Hanna in left field will lead things off. Elvis Andrus is the new shortstop for the Oakland A's. They signed him in the offseason after Marcus Semien left as a free agent. Semien signing a 1-year deal with the Toronto Blue Jays. Matt Olson at first base will bat number 3. Matt Chapman will follow. He will be the cleanup batter at third base. Today will be Chapman's first game of the spring for the Oakland A's. He's coming back from some injury issues a year ago. After that, Mitch Moreland, who they picked up in the offseason, will DH and bat number 5. Ramon Laureano, their outstanding center fielder. He can get them with the best of them out in the outfield. He will bat in the number 6 spot. They will have Chad Pinder follow, as he will be batting number 7. He'll be in right field. Tony Kemp will play second base for Oakland today and bat 8th. And Ramos Garcia, the catcher, will bat number 9. Pitching for the Oakland A's, James Caprillion. He is a right-hander, 27 years old. He had a birthday on Tuesday. 6'3", 225-pounder. He was in 2 games for the Oakland A's last season, both in relief. 3 2/3 innings, allowed 4 hits, 3 earned runs. He was 0-0 with a 7.36 ERA. Caprillion doesn't figure to be in the starting rotation for the Oakland A's. In fact, their starting rotation, if everyone stays healthy for them this spring, figures to be the identical rotation they had a year ago when Oakland came away with the first place finish in the AL West. The umpires today, Doug Eddings will be calling balls and strikes. Ted Barrett, the crew chief, will be the umpire at first base. Pat Hoberg at second. And the umpire at third base will be Nick Marley. So we are just about set for baseball here in Mesa. Down the lines, 340 to left, 350 to right, 411 to dead center. Power alleys 385 in left center and right center field. We're ready for baseball here on this Friday. Here's the first pitch, and that one is a little bit low. We're underway, and the count 1 ball and no strikes. Batter for the Angels, leadoff man David Fletcher. Fletcher hadn't been in the last 2 games for the Angels, but back in the starting lineup. He's fine physically. And here's the next pitch, and that one is pitch that he takes for ball 2. It misses 2 balls and no strikes. Fletcher officially this spring 1 for 1. He's had a bunch of walks as well, and he's been on base every time he stepped up to the plate so far. This is his 3rd game for the Angels this spring. 77 degrees at game time, and the first pitch was precisely on time today at 12:05 Pacific. Angels have the red tops, gray pants. Here's the next one from Caprillion, and that's in there for a called strike. David Fletcher, 26-year-old Angels second baseman. Caprillion is a pitcher who pitched at UCLA in his college days, originally with the New York Yankees. Got acquired from the Yankees by the A's back in July of 2017. That's when the A's traded Sonny Gray over to the Yankees. Caprillion, one of the players who came over in that deal, and then he eventually ended up having Tommy John right elbow surgery that year as well. Here's one that's fouled off on the right side. Long run for the first baseman Olsen. It's back to the seats and out of play. Caprillion was a first-round pick of the Yankees back in 2015. Did not pitch at all in 2017 and 2018, coming back from the Tommy John elbow problem. Fastball slider pitcher. He has a curve and changeup. Rarely uses those pitches. Very good slider. Fastball top out around 97. So Fletcher has worked the count 2-2. Waiting on deck patiently is Mike Trout, and the next pitch, and that is a called third strike. Caught the outside part of the plate, and Fletcher is out looking. That's the game's first out. Mike Trout will be the next batter. Trout just 3 at bats so far this spring with a hit. Around the infield for Oakland, they have Matt Olson at first base, Matt Chapman at third, Elvis Andrus, their shortstop. Tony Kemp is the second baseman. In the outfield, Mark Hanna in left, Ramon Laureano in center, Chad Pinder in right. Aramis Garcias is catching. And the pitch, and that one is right in there for a called strike. Mitch Moreland is the DH for the Oakland A's today. So 0-1 on Mike Trout. They have a left side infield shift on. 3 infielders on that left side. And the next delivery, Trout lifts it in the air down the right field side. Long run for Pinder, chasing near foul territory. It's going to drop out of his reach. He had a long run and just couldn't quite get to that one. So Trout stays alive. And I want to remind you, Angels baseball is being brought to you today by In-N-Out. That's what a hamburger is all about. Two strikes on Trout. Dexter Fowler waiting on deck, just underway from Ho-Ho-Com Park in Mesa. This used to be the Chicago Cubs spring training home. They're in Mesa still, but it's Sloan Park that opened up a few years ago. Beautiful facility in the same city of Mesa. And for many years, the Oakland A's had spring training at Municipal Park in Phoenix, which isn't all that far from Tempe Diablo Stadium, right up Priest Road, actually. That is very close to Tempe Diablo. Here's the next pitch. That's a little bit up and in, and misses on Trout. So 1 ball and 2 strikes. Brian Butterfield, the Angels third base coach. Jeter Hines, new first base coach, back in the Angels organization. He had been in the Angels organization for a long time. Long-standing relationship with Joe Madden. And the pitch, that went on Trout. It misses inside, and so the count on Mike Trout, even, it's now 2 balls and 2 strikes. Jeter Hines now down his 23rd season overall in the Angels organization. He was with the Angels in the 80s and 90s, in the early 2000s. Now back here with the Angels in 2021, and there's a pitch there that gets a piece of Mike Trout, and he's hit by the pitch on that 2-2. So Trout shaking it off now at first base. That pitch coming in on Mike Trout, and boy, that got him right around the left shoulder area, above the padding that he wears on the elbow. But Trout shaking it off, appears to be okay. Angels have a 1-out base runner. Caprillion, who's on the mound, he kind of has the reputation of being a guy that gets a little amped up when he's on the mound, and he's working for the first time this spring. The Oakland A's have on purpose stayed away from using their starting rotation this spring, and they're going to do that the first 2 rounds this spring, where none of their scheduled starting pitchers in their rotation are going to pitch in games, and that will continue into next week, and then they'll start to sprinkle in their starting pitchers into the Cactus League games. Oakland A's so far this spring, 2-2 record. This is their 5th game. Angels playing game number 6 this spring. Counts 0-2 on Fowler with a right side infield shift on. Trout not going. The pitch bounce foul over on the first base side, so we'll do it again. And the count remains at no balls and 2 strikes. The rotation for the Oakland A's, mentioned it's going to be the same as a year ago. Every one of their starting pitchers back. Chris Bassett, Jesus Luzardo, Frankie Montas, Sean Manaea, and they signed Mike Fiers late in the offseason. He's back with them as well. Pitch missed for a ball. 1-2 is the count on Dexter Fowler. No score, just underway. Angels and A's matching up for the first time this spring. Angels will have a home game against Oakland later on this spring on Saturday the 20th of March as Fowler fouls another one off, stays alive. And of course the two teams will be reacquainted when the regular season begins, although in the opening month of the regular season the Angels will not play the Oakland A's. It's like the first meeting between the Angels and A's will not be until the 21st of May, which is a little bit hard to believe because the two teams share the AL West, but the first regular season game, Angels in Oakland at the Big A, that'll be a Friday night on the 21st of May. Counts 2-2 here on Dexter Fowler. Caprellian ready, and the next pitch grounded sharply through on the right side. Trout is going to second. He'll make a turn but hold there, and Fowler is on. He gets a 1-out single. Angels have something in business here. Runners at first and second, and Albert Pujols will be the next batter. Albert's had a couple of RBI hits so far and 4 times up this spring, back in the lineup today. As Caprellian works, this next pitch is going to be his 20th already here in the first inning. And we've talked about the rule this spring in the Cactus League where managers, after a starting pitcher or even a relief pitcher is on the mound, when they get to the 20 pitch mark, the manager can take his team off the field, and we've seen this happen quite a bit already. Here's the pitch. That went on Albert, off speed delivery. He takes it a little bit outside. 1 ball, no strikes. They go with a shift on Albert. 3 infielders on the left side. The first baseman Olsen is way off the bag over there at first base. Here's the pitch, and Albert was very late on the swing on that pitch. Fooled by that one. Count even, it's 1-1. Olsen, the first baseman, he's probably 35 feet off the bag over there. He's further off the bag than Fowler, but Fowler's getting a gigantic lead off of first because Olsen is playing so far away from the bag. Here's the next one on Albert. He pops one in the air, shallow right field, tight to the line. It's going to drop foul. Olsen, the first baseman, had a long run to try and get to that, never got to it, and it was shallow down that right side in foul ground. Pinder had no chance on it. So Albert stays alive. Caprellian, who's on the mound, he's gotten a 2-strike count against every Angel batter, but he's only retired 1, and he pitches with some trouble here. Runners at first and second. Justin Upton waits on deck for the Angels here in the first inning. The A's do not have any action in their bullpen here. And the pitch. Albert pops it back foul. This one's going to land up above us, out of play. Fans in the stands here today at Ho-Ho-Com Park. And you can see some red in the stands. The Angels visiting dugout is over on the third base side, and that's where majority of fans wearing the red seem to be today, on the third base side. Counts 1-2 on Albert. Kaprelian's next pitch, and Albert waves and misses that one. He struck him out. That looked like a pretty good slider right there. Second strikeout in the inning for Kaprelian. And now the batter will be Justin Upton. Angels looking for a 2-out hit, try and get the early lead here in the first inning. Trout the lead runner at second, and Fowler over there the runner at first. Here's the next pitch. That one on Upton. He thought about chasing it, holds up. And the count, no balls and 1 strike. When the A's acquired Kaprelian from the Yankees, he was a key piece of that deal when Oakland sent Sonny Gray over to New York. The pitch. This is lifted high in the air in the right center field. Ball carrying pretty well, but it's playable, and under making the catch on it is the right fielder Chad Pinder in right center. That'll end the inning. Well, the Angels sent a total of 5 to the plate, leave 2 on base. Half inning in the books. No score from Mesa. Angels and A's on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West.
Okay.
Shohei Ohtani has completed his warm-up tosses. He's about ready to go as we head to the bottom of the first inning with no score. Mark Canha, Elvis Andrus, and Matt Olson, the first 3 that Ohtani will face. Canha yet to get set in the batter's box. Now he's in there, and Ohtani working from the stretch, delivers, and the first pitch, that's a fastball that's cut on and fouled back behind the plate. No balls and 1 strike. A lot of people focused in on this outing today for Shohei Ohtani, who has looked good during the workouts leading into this start. Next pitch, that one is low. It skips by the catcher Kurt Suzuki. Joe Madden talking about Ohtani today. Joe saying the Angels will indeed go with a 6-man rotation. And Ohtani will start when his day comes up in the rotation. It's not going to be a situation in the past. There's a check swing on a pitch that was up and in. It's fouled back on the right side. Remember, a couple seasons ago, it was Ohtani pitching on Sundays. That was kind of his designated day to start. The Angels aren't going to do that type of thing anymore. He'll start when his spot comes up in the rotation with the 5 other Angel starters. Not sure where Ohtani will stack up in the rotation as far as the starting order. And there's a pitch that's in there that freezes. Canha struck him out looking. Shohei took a little something off that pitch, and so 1 away on the called third strike. Bottom of the first inning being brought to you today by our friends at Rotolo Chevrolet in Fontana, the #1 Chevrolet dealer in California. Rotolo is pursuing excellence every day. You can visit them at rotolo.com. So Shohei today is working exclusively from the stretch. He's ready. Here's the pitch, and that's a fastball right in there for a called strike. We'll try and get some pitch speeds for you today. 0-1 is the count. This is Elvis Andrus, the new A's shortstop, batting, and the next pitch grounds one sharply to third. It skips off the glove of Rengifo, and it caroms down into foul territory. Easily moving up to second base with a stand-up double is Andrus. So he pulled that one. It was hit tight to the line. Rengifo playing third base today for the Angels, and That one just out of his reach. That line hugger up the third base side. And Hefo got a little glove on it. That's why the ball ended up carrying and caromed over into foul territory on the left side. So the batter now with the runner at second. One out is Matt Olson. Olson had a off year offensively in a shortened season a year ago. He hit just 195, but with that said, he had 14 homers and drove in 42 runs. Here's the pitch, and he checks the swing, fouls that one off over on the left side. Olson, a guy who walks a lot, usually has a pretty high on base percentage for a guy who will strike out. He had 77 strikeouts last year in the 60 games he played in every one of their games last season. Fouls that one back, and Ohtani has 2 strikes on him, so we'll see if he might be able to polish him off here. 0-2 is the count. Olson's also a guy, he's a big guy. He goes about 6'5", 230, and he gets hit by a lot of pitches. Here's the 2-strike delivery, and that one a little bit low. 1-2 is the count. Joe Maddon talking about Ohtani this spring. He's mentioned how his delivery has been a lot more repeatable than a year ago. Very inconsistent in just those 2 starts he made for the Angels and eventually shut down from pitching. Joe hoping to see Ohtani be more of a strike hitter, and so far that's been the case here in his first inning. Show a more consistent delivery. 2-strike pitch, missed outside with that one. The count even. It's now 2 balls and 2 strikes. Shohei Ohtani has also implemented a changeup into his arsenal. He's had the devastating splitter in the past. That was a big pitch for him back in 2018, as that one is fouled off over on the right side. 2 balls and 2 strikes. So Ohtani looks comfortable out on the mound, and that's certainly a key. A lot of talk about Joe Maddon and the coaching staff talking to Ohtani this spring, telling Shohei that they want him to take control of his career, and that the Angels aren't putting the kind of limitations they've had on him in the past. Here's the next delivery. There's a swing and a miss, and he struck him out. Olson is down. So both outs in the inning coming on strikeouts. Shohei looking good here in the bottom of the first. And again, he's facing the A's A lineup. They have many, if not close to all their regulars in this lineup. And the batter now will be Matt Chapman. And this will be Chapman's first at bat this spring. Chapman had right hip surgery back in September of last year. He only played in 37 of their 60 games. Here's the pitch, and that one pitch that is missing for a ball, blocked by Kurt Suzuki. Suzuki and Ohtani might have gotten crossed up on that pitch. 1 ball, no strikes. Chapman last season hit .232, had 10 homers, drove in 25. Outstanding defensive third baseman. SoCal native. Went to El Toro High School. Cal State Fullerton, where he played his college baseball. Here's the 1-0. And that one is up and in. Ball 2. 2 balls and no strikes. Talking about the Angels trying to take some limitations off of Ohtani in the past when he's been pitching, and of course DHing for the Angels. Here's the next delivery. That's in there for a called strike. 2-1 to count. Angels have always had Ohtani not hit the day before he pitches and then not hit the day after he pitches. Joe Maddon saying that's not necessarily going to be the case this season. He'll probably not hit the day before he pitches, but the day after, depending on how Shohei feels after pitching, he could DH for the Angels the next day. Here's the delivery, and that's a breaking ball right there. It missed a little bit low and away, so it's now 3 balls and 1 strike. Bottom of the first inning. 4th batter Ohtani facing. Struck out 2 of the first 3. The other one, Andrews, got the double. The hard hit ball up the third base side. It skipped off the glove of Rengifo. Here's the next delivery. And that's a breaking ball. That one is low, clearly out of the strike zone. So a walk. And they have 2 on with 2 outs. And Mitch Moreland, newcomer with the Oakland A's this season, will be the next batter. Moreland last year began the season with the Red Sox and then got dealt over to the Padres. Shohei's next pitch will be his 18th here in the first inning. Mitch Moreland a year ago hit .265, .252 career hitter, lefty batter. First pitch, a little bit outside. It misses. 1 ball, no strikes. Mitch Moreland's been an all-star once in his career. He's won a Gold Glove as a first baseman in the past. He figures to be the DH for Oakland this year. He takes that fastball a little bit outside. Ohtani's fallen behind. It's now 2-0. Moreland signed late in the offseason with Oakland, a 1-year deal. Veteran player, now 35 years old. Scoreless in the bottom of the first here in Mesa. Angels and A's, and the next pitch, and that's in there. A fastball for a called strike. 2-1 the count. Around the infield today, Angels have Albert playing first base, David Fletcher at second, Rengifo at third, and Iglesias at short. Next delivery, it's pop foul. Left of home plate, backing out of play. Angels have what figures to be their regular outfielders out there today. Upton in left, Trout in center, Fowler in right, Suzuki catching, Stassi DHing, and the lineup the Angels have behind Shohei today, pretty close to what you think it might be, except for Rendon not out there. And there's a 2-2 delivery, chased and missed, and that'll end the inning. So in Shohei's first inning this spring, he ends up striking out the side. They had a couple base runners but failed to score. 1 in the books. Angels and A's scoreless on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. We go to the second, no score here in Mesa. This game is scheduled for 7 innings today. And back out there on the mound is the starter for the A's today, James Caprillion. And the first delivery that's in there for a called strike on Angels shortstop Jose Iglesias. Each team got runners at first and second in the first inning, but neither team scored. And that's a little bit inside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Shohei Ohtani in the first inning, 22 pitches in the inning. Slated to pitch a second inning. He had 13 strikes out of the 22. 7 of his first 8 pitches were strikes today. And the next delivery, a little check swing, left of the mound. Caprillion, the pitcher, stops it, fumbled it, and still has time. Gets the throw to first for the out. So 1 gone. Kurt Suzuki will be the batter, and this copyrighted broadcast presented by Authority of Angels Baseball may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of today's game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of Angels Baseball. Terry Smith and producer engineer Jorge Sevilla with you here from Ho-Ho-Com Park in Mesa, where we have a beautiful day for baseball. A little warmer today, 77 degrees. Expected to get into the low 80s today. Here's the pitch. That's chopped on the third base side. Good stop by Chapman. Gets up throwing, and that's going to be in time to get Kurt Suzuki. Well, Chapman is a Gold Glover over there at third base, and he flashed some Gold Glove right there. That ball, if it gets by him, maybe Suzuki has a chance for a double, depending on where that ball might have rolled, but it turns out to be an out. Very nice play by the A's third baseman. So 2 up, 2 away, and Max Stassi will be the next batter, and he will be stepping up for the first time this spring. And the first delivery, that one's a little bit low in the top of the first inning. James Kaprielian threw 26 pitches, and here in this inning he got the first 2 outs on 4. Here's his next pitch. This is fouled back behind the plate. So the count's even. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. Stassi out there batting, coming off of left hip surgery that he had back in October, right after the regular season ended for the Angels. Had a lot of hip issues, surgery on both hips in his career. There's a pitch on the outside corner, called strike. Stassi last year played in 31 of the 60 Angel games, and again he was bothered by that hip problem. That's why he didn't play very much more than half of the Angel games. He hit .278, and he was swinging a very good bat for the Angels last year. He's just a career .216 hitter. Here's the pitch, and he chases that 1-2 delivery, and he is a strikeout victim to end the inning. So that'll do it for the Angels. A quiet top of the second. Bottom of the second is coming up. Scoreless, Angels and A's. That was just an 8-pitch inning on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Shohei Ohtani out there. First pitch to start out the bottom of the second inning. That's right in there on the A's center fielder, Ramon Laureano. He'll be followed by Chad Pinder and Tony Kemp. Shohei in the first inning, 22 pitches. His fastball has topped out at 99 miles per hour today. There's a ground ball out of the reach of the shortstop Iglesias, and that's going to be a leadoff hit. Laureano is going to go for 2, and the throw, it's going to be a little offline. That ball ended up in left center field. Upton ended up getting to it before Trout, and then Upton's throw was a little bit offline, and that's a hustle double there for Laureano. So the next batter is going to be Pinder. Just watching the replay on that one. I guess Upton had called off Trout as that one was rolling into left center field. You might see Mike Trout come over, get to that ball, but Laureano is on with a double, and Ohtani working with a runner in scoring position here as this inning is underway. Nobody out. Pinder is the batter, right-handed hitter. Pitch a little bit low. Good stop there by Kurt Suzuki. That one gets away. That runner easily gets to third. 1 ball, no strikes. Ohtani's fastball was consistently in the mid to upper 90s in the first inning, anywhere from 95 to 99 where he topped out, and there's a breaking pitch that misses outside. 2 balls and no strikes. The 2 starts we saw from Ohtani last season in the regular season were pretty much painful to watch. He just really struggled. Release point was an issue. Today he looks so much better as that pitch is in there for a called strike. And basically what Ohtani has done so far here in his first start is do what he had been doing so far this spring as far as his side sessions for the Angels, getting prepared for this start. Here's the next pitch. There's a swing and a miss, and the count 2-2. And if the Angels could have a healthy, effective Ohtani in the rotation, that would be such an enormous lift for the Angels this season. 2-2 the count. Next delivery. There's a swing and a miss, and down on strikes goes Pinder. Struck him out. All the outs recorded by Shohei have come on strikeouts so far. Struck out the side last inning. First out here in the bottom of the second, a strikeout. The Angels basically have not had Ohtani, the pitcher, available for the last 2 seasons. Last year, just the 2 starts. Year before, coming back from the Tommy John elbow injury, no starts. Here's the pitch. That's a shot into right center field, and that is going to be a gapper. It's going to take a bounce and roll out near the rim of the track. Trout just getting to it. At second is Kemp. He is there with an RBI double. And so the A's get a run on the board here and take a 1-0 lead. Tony Kemp, a guy that usually sprays the ball around. He hit that one in the gap, and he hit it with some authority. It's 1-0 Oakland, and Garcia, the catcher, will be the next batter. Ramos Garcia, who's trying to win a spot as a backup catcher for the Oakland A's. Here's the pitch. He goes after the first one, fouls it back just above us, out of play. And the count, no balls and 1 strike. Garcia, a player who missed last season. He had hip surgery. The A's recently acquired him from the Texas Rangers. He was originally with the Giants, former 2nd-round pick. Played for San Francisco as a backup catcher a little bit to Buster Posey in the 2019 season. Hasn't hit much at the big league level. That 2019 season he batted just .143, career .229 hitter. Here's the pitch. That's hit sharply, foul ball though on the third base side. So one hopper, a little bit out of the reach of Rengifo, but a foul ball. So Ohtani has moved in front 1-2 on the 9-hole hitter, Ramos Garcia. The A's catcher, who figures to be their starting catcher, Sean Murphy, not in the lineup, and Murphy coming back from some injury issues. Ready is Ohtani. Here's the pitch. That one misses a little bit low. Angels have Kyle Keller up in the bullpen right now. And of course the Angels will be looking closely at Ohtani's pitch count. He threw 22 in the first inning today. Here's the next one, and that one is a little bit outside. So it's a full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Mentioning the A's #1 catcher, Sean Murphy. He suffered a freak situation where he actually had surgery for a collapsed lung. That was back in January. So he's been a little bit behind, but they're hoping he's going to be ready for the start of the regular season. And on the 3-2, that one missed a little bit up and in. That's going to be ball 4. So Ohtani having a little bit more difficulty here in the second inning. He gave up the leadoff double, then he struck out Pinder, and Kemp doubled in Laureano, and now the walk to Garcia. It's the second walk allowed by Shohei, who has struck out 4. Ohtani's allowed 3 hits so far, and the 1 run. So now the leadoff man, Canna, at the plate. He took a called third strike leading up the A's bottom of the first. Takes that one outside. 1-0 the count. Canna, a .246 hitter last year for Oakland. He's their left fielder. Ohtani's thrown 15 pitches here in this bottom of the second. That's one frame, but the call goes against Shohei. That's ball 2, a little bit outside and low. 2 balls and no strikes. So Ohtani's nearing 40 pitches, not that that is necessarily a cutoff point here, but we'll see if he's able to get through this inning. Pitches are starting to mount a bit. Next delivery, and that's a breaking ball right there. Taking all the way was Canna. That pitch a called strike. 2-1. A little bit of a breeze blowing in at the moment from left field. Shohei is ready, looks at second, delivers, and comes in with that breaking ball again. That's in there for a called strike. 2-2 the count. Ohtani relying more off speed here in this matchup against Canna. Lead runner at second, Tony Kempe, has good speed. A base hit would probably bring him in. Here's the 2-2 pitch, and that one is chased and missed. Worked him low and in, struck him out. So that is strikeout number 5 for Ohtani, and Joe Maddon is headed out to the mound, and that's going to be it for Shohei. So his day is done. Every out recorded by Ohtani in his inning and 2/3 coming via the strikeout. So Ohtani will be lifted. That's a nice round of applause as he comes off from the Angel fans here today. Shohei looked pretty good today out there on the mound. A lot more comfortable pitching here this afternoon. We'll take a break when we get back. Looks like Kyle Keller will be the new pitcher. It's 1-0 Oakland. A pitching change bottom of the second on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. New pitcher for the Angels is Kyle Keller. He takes over for Shohei Ohtani. We'll give you some Ohtani info here after the first delivery to Elvis Andrus. Andrus doubled in the Oakland first inning. They have 2 runners on first and second with 2 outs, leading the Angels 1-0. Here's Keller's pitch, and that's a fastball, misses outside. Ohtani ended up throwing 41 pitches, 24 for strikes, faced 10 batters, and had first pitch strikes against 6 of the first 10, and the total number of batters he faced today. Ohtani did hit 100 miles per hour with a fastball this inning, as that one is fouled back, so that's where he topped off today. He was throwing some splitters, 88 to 90 miles per hour, and looked like he had some pretty good ones against Canna, the final batter he retired. Shohei, an inning and 2/3, 3 hits allowed. Right now, run earned, 2 on base, his property. He walked 2 and struck out 5. All the outs for Ohtani coming via the strikeout. Here's the pitch. That's a breaking ball, a little bit up and in on Elvis Andrus. 2 balls and 1 strike. Andrus was with the Texas Rangers the last 12 seasons, and he was an opening day starting shortstop for them every one of those years, but now with the Oakland A's. There's the pitch. That's lifted down the right side, foul, backing out of play. A's acquired Andrus during the offseason, a 2-time All-Star. He's in the 7th year of an 8-year deal that he originally signed with the Texas Rangers. Andrus last season played in only 29 games. He was bothered with some back issues with Texas a year ago. Here's the pitch, and that is a called 3rd strike he takes, and he is out looking. Well, all the outs so far have been on strikeouts. The 5 by Ohtani, and Keller comes in and strikes out the only batter he needs to face here in the bottom of the inning. A run, though, for Oakland. In the inning, they had 2 hits, and they leave a pair of runners on. 3rd inning is coming up. We're scheduled for 7 in Mesa. 1-0 Oakland on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. A's have a new pitcher. Birch Smith will take over. We'll tell you about him in just a moment. Angel fans, don't forget, register your little angel for the Junior Angels Kids Club. It's presented by Jersey Mike's. Members receive a clear backpack, a t-shirt, a mask, and more for only $18. Visit angels.com/juniorangels for details. So Birch Smith is the new pitcher. He was with the Oakland A's last season. They re-signed him during the offseason. His first delivery, the right-hander's pitch, that's in there on Luis Rengifo. Rengifo batting for the first time in today's game. He's gone 2 for 3 so far this spring. A couple of runs batted in. Pitch on its way. That one a little bit low. The starting pitcher for the A's today, James Kaprielian. 2 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 3 strikeouts. Hit a batter. And here's the next pitch. That's lifted in the air. That ball's hit well out into left center field. Chasing after it is Laureano. It's out of here. It's a home run. Rengifo goes the opposite way out to left center field. Lined that one out. And Rengifo continues to impress so far this spring. Luis Rengifo, he's lost a little bit of weight. Kind of reminds you a little bit more of the Rengifo from 2019 as opposed to the Rengifo from a year ago when he got off to a late start and then a slow start and hit just over 150. But he looks like he's back. And at the plate is David Fletcher. The first pitch on him misses ball 1. So 1-1 ball game here in the third. And here's the pitch. This is popped on the first base side, playable on the dirt behind the bag. Making the catch on that one is Matt Olson. So David Fletcher is set down quickly. That's out number 1. Mike Trout will be the next batter. Trout today hit by a pitch. It was up around the shoulder blade his first time up. So Trout getting ready to dig in. Here's the pitch on Mike. And he takes the first one a little bit outside for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes. Here's the next delivery. That breaking ball in there. Birch Smith fastball. He'll top out around 98. He has a curve, a good changeup, a slider. He doesn't use that pitch a whole lot. Here's the next delivery. It's a fastball, misses high. Birch Smith is one of those pitchers who's played for both teams in the Bay Area with the Giants and the A's, and he came over from the Giants about a year ago. It was February of last season during spring training. Actually, the first player that had appeared in big league action for the Giants and the A's going all the way back to 2004. They just haven't made a whole lot of trades, those two teams. Kind of reminds you a little bit of the Angels and the Dodgers. They have not been trading partners all that often either. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Here's the next one on Trout. Payoff pitch, swings at that one, fouls it off on the right side. They go with the left side shift on with Mike Trout batting. Hard to believe later on this season Trout will turn 30 years old. We saw him when he was a teenager with the Angels at age 19, making his major league debut. Trout backs out of the batter's box. And when we saw Trout as a teenager, initially he struggled at the major league level. Here's the pitch. That's a swing and a miss. And he got him on a breaking ball, struck him out. So Trout retired. A couple outs after the leadoff home run issued by Birch Smith. Not a strikeout so far here in this ball game of the Angel outs so far. 4 have come on strikeouts, and all 6 Oakland outs have been with their batters striking out. Dexter Fowler is the hitter now. They'll put the right side shift on against Fowler. The A's have been doing the shift against just about all the Angel hitters here, most of them anyway. And first one is in there on Fowler, who got a base hit his first time up. Here's the next pitch. That's lifted foul on the left side, backing out of play.
Good work, Maximo.
Oakland A's, they've had 3 straight winning seasons. Won the AL West a year ago, finished 36-24. There's one that's fouled back on the left side, backing out of play. Oakland's been to the playoffs 3 years in a row. But a long time since the A's won a World Series. You have to go way back to 1989 when they beat the Giants in the 4-game sweep. Here's the next delivery. Chopped on the right side. 3 infielders are over there, and the stop is made by Andrews, the shortstop on the right side. He'll throw out Fowler, and after the leadoff homer in the inning, the next 3 retired in a row. But we're headed to the bottom of the 3rd at Ho-Ho-Com Park in Mesa. Angels and the Oakland A's tied at 1 on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Angels make a few changes defensively. We'll pick those up in just a moment as Matt Olson gets ready to bat here against Kyle Keller, who got the final out last inning in relief of Shohei. The first pitch misses for a ball, 1-0. New second baseman is Franklin Barreto. He's a former Oakland A. New center fielder is Scott Schebler, and the new right fielder is Joe Adell. So you can kind of see where Joe Maddon's coming along with here in this ball game. After Fletcher, Trout, and Fowler each got their second at bat, now they've been lifted, and we'll probably see that trend continue. Albert, Upton, and Iglesias will be batting for the Angels next inning, and probably they'll get their second at bat and be done today as well. Counts 1 ball, 1 strike. Angels have a shift on here against Olson, a pull hitter who fouls that one off on the left side. So the count 1 ball, 2 strikes. Angels lone infielder on that left side is Iglesias, the shortstop. He's playing deep. Rengifo, the third baseman's playing on the right side of the infield, along with Barreto and Albert. In the pitch that's lifted high and deep into right field. That ball's carrying way out, and it is gone. That one ends up landing in the Angels bullpen, which is behind the A's bullpen down the right side. So he cleared one bullpen completely with the homer and dropped it into the other one, the Angel pen, for the home run. Olson has good power, and he hit one a long way there to give the A's the lead back in this game. It's now 2-1 Oakland. So Matt Chapman will be the next batter. A's normally put their M&M guys back to back in the batting order, whether it's Matt Chapman followed by Matt Olson or Matt Olson followed by Matt Chapman, which is the case today. One ball, no strikes to count on Chapman. He walked his first time up. There's a pitch there. He foul tips into the mid of Kurt Suzuki. 1 ball, 1 strike. Angels playing the infield more straight up here. 2 infielders on each side against Chapman, and the pitch in there, off speed pitch for a called strike. Kyle Keller pitching for the Angels. Seen him already this spring. Right-hander. And the next delivery, and that's a pitch right there, foul tip. Right by the plate, still 1-2. Keller fastball, slider, curve. He'll top out around 97.
Number 21, Adam Kolarek, warming for the A's. 21, Kolarek.
A's have Adam Kolarek, who they got from the Dodgers, warming up. Here's the next pitch from Keller, and that one misses for a ball. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Keller is ready, and here's the next pitch, and that one misses inside, so the count runs full. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Saw Keller on the mound for the Angels in the opening game of the Cactus League in Scottsdale against the Giants on Sunday. Pitched a scoreless inning in that ball game. Here's the next delivery, and that is a called third strike on the outside corner. Got him looking. So Chapman is out. And again, the trend continues here. Every Oakland batter who has been retired via the strikeout. The Angel fielders aren't getting a whole lot of action here in this ball game. Ohtani struck out 5 in an inning and 2/3. Keller's worked 2/3 of an inning now, a third of an inning last inning, and now this inning on strikeouts. Here's a ball in play, bounced over on the left side, and it's stopped over there, and the throw will get Moreland as Iglesias. It's a fielding opportunity, the first one by any Angel player, and that will be out number 2. Some of the Angel outfielders have had a chance to throw some balls back from the outfield on the doubles hit by the A's, but no true fielding opportunities for anyone until that one right there, at least in the infield. Here's the pitch, and that's a called strike. Laureano, the batter, he doubled his first time up. We're in the bottom of the 3rd. A's have a 2-1 lead when the Angels step up in the 4th inning. And again, this game is scheduled for 7. It'll be Pujols, Upton, and Iglesias, and we'll probably see Kolarek. Here's a fly ball lifted into right center field. Schebler is battling the sun out there, and he makes the catch. Boy, that one gave him a little bit of trouble, but he was able to pocket that one in right center field. And the inning comes to an end. Oakland gets a run, though, on the leadoff homer by Olsen. 3 in the books. The 4th is next. 2-1 A's on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. New pitcher for the Oakland A's, former Dodger Adam Kolarek. 20 games with the Dodgers a year ago. Had a 3-0 record. Very good earned run average, 0.95. Lefty had 1 save a year ago with the Dodgers. He'll throw sidearm, and the A's got him late in the offseason. They acquired him just last month from the Dodgers. A's made a lot of late additions to their bullpen just before the start of spring training. Kolarek, one of them. They brought back Petit. Here's the pitch on its way. That one is right in there for a called strike. 0-1 is the count. They signed Sergio Romo late during the offseason. He's with them. A's had a very good bullpen. They've retooled it a bit this season, though, on the pitch. And there's a swing and a miss by Albert, and he's quickly in the hole. 0-2. Kolarek has a very good sinker, and that's his out pitch. He'll throw a slider and a changeup. Albert today, a strikeout is his only time up. Here's the pitch, and that one is low. Oakland A's had, I guess you could say, the best closer in the game a year ago, Liam Hendricks. He was a free agent and has moved on, so A's looking to replace him. They signed Trevor Rosenthal in the offseason. He appears ticketed to be their closer. So there's been some retooling as far as the A's bullpen, and their bullpen was certainly a strength for them a year ago. Their bullpen ERA was the tops in the American League last season. Counts 2-2. And here's the next pitch. Popped in the air on the right side, shallow right field. Pinder's coming in, and he calls everyone off as Olsen and Kemp were going after it as well. Fly out to the right fielder is out number 1. Albert retired. Upton will be the batter, and I want to remind Angel fans, to our Angels family, for 60 years you have welcomed the Angels into your lives, and whether you're a fan from the start or new to the Angels, we thank you for your support. 4th inning, 2-1 Oakland. Pitch on Upton, and that one is in there for a called strike. 0-1 to count. Kolarek doing a good job with the Dodgers last season. He allowed only 1 home run in the 20 appearances he made. Sidearm delivery, and that one misses outside. 1 ball, 1 strike. Upton flied out to right his first time up. The left-hander is set. Here's the next pitch. That's drilled into left field. That ball's carrying deep out into left field, and that ball is gone in left field. Out of here, a home run for Justin Upton. So Upton's first homer this spring, and that was a line drive home run. Just got done talking about Kolarek doesn't give up many home runs, and sure enough, Upton just took him out. That's the old broadcaster jinx working to perfection right there. Yep. So the batter now is Iglesias. Maybe I can cook up a few more before the end of the ball game. We'll see. As long as the drinks goes against the A's and not against the Angels. Here's the pitch, and that's a little bit low. It misses. Iglesias has hit a home run this spring for the Angels. So far today, just a comebacker to the mound, and that was against the A's starter. Here's the next pitch. That's hit well out into center field. That ball's carrying deep out there, and it's out of the reach of the center fielder, Laureano. Headed for third base will be Iglesias, and he will get there with a triple. He's had a couple of triples. Boy, Laureano is outstanding defensively right there, and he just didn't quite get to that one. Normally, he's going to make that catch out there. Wasn't an easy play by any stretch. But that one just eluded Laureano out there in center. He kind of jumped up, maybe reached the glove out in the wrong spot, but he had a shot to catch that one, even though it was hit a ton. That ball was hit close to 400 feet. So a triple right there for Iglesias. They bring the infield in. Suzuki will be the batter, and the Angels trying to get their first lead of the day. And at the plate, taking the first one, checking the swing on it, is Suzuki. Jeremiah Jackson is the pinch runner now for Iglesias, who just got that 1-out triple. Here comes the pitch. This is popped up foul back behind the plate. That one is going to hit back and out of play. So 1 ball, 1 strike. Hurt Suzuki with a chance to drive in a run here. Has yet to drive in a run. Hasn't had very many at bats so far this spring. He's just 1 for 4 overall. And here's the pitch. And that one delivered low and away. It misses. 2 balls and 1 strike. The lead in this ball game has been seesawing back and forth. A's led it 1-0. Angels tied it. A's led it 2-1. Angels have tied it. Now the Angels trying to get their first lead. Here's the pitch. It's fouled back behind the plate. 2-2 is the count. After Suzuki, Max Stassi waiting on deck. Hayes with that infield brought in, trying to cut down Jackson, the pinch runner at third base. Kolarek ready. 2-strike delivery, and that one got a piece of Suzuki. Tried to work him inside and hit him. So that'll put runners at the corners. And Max Stassi will be the next batter. Stassi struck out his first time up. Now we'll see how they play the infield. The middle part of the infield, Andrews and Kemp, medium depth. Chapman is backed up, so they're not playing in like they were when there was a runner at third base and 1 out. Now they're hoping maybe a double play will end the inning. Here's the pitch. Stassi swings at that one, fouls that one back behind the plate. 0-1 is the count. Hope you're enjoying the action wherever you're joining us today, whether you're tuned in on the Angels Baseball Radio Network or on Fox Sports West. Terry Smith with you for Friday afternoon baseball. Our producer engineer is Jorge Sevilla. And there's a toss over to first base, and back to the bag goes the base runner over there, Suzuki. No balls and 1 strike is the count. And here's the pitch. That one is a pitch taken for a ball. The count's even. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. Oakland A's had a day off yesterday. And that's pretty quick to have one off in the opening week of the Cactus League schedule, but they were off yesterday. Here's the 1-1, and that's an off-speed pitch from the sidewinder. Kolarek chased and missed, so the count's 1-2 on Stassi. A's have had a game already this spring where they scored 13 runs. That was a win against the Reds, and then their most recent game, which was on Wednesday, they gave up 10 runs, and they lost to the Rockies. Here's the pitch, fouled off right side, backing out of play on that one as Stassi battles with 2 strikes. 1 ball, 2 strikes the count. A's have a couple of other pitchers on the board today scheduled to see action. Nick Turley and Brian Schlitter, the other pitcher scheduled to go. And on that 2-strike pitch, that one is chased and missed by Stassi, so that's a strikeout, and there are 2 gone. Now the Angels need a 2-out hit. Rengifo will be the batter. He's hit a home run batting left-handed. He'll bat right-handed now against this lefty Kolarek. Each team with 2 runs on 4 hits. Rengifo awaiting the first delivery here from Kolarek, and here it comes. He chops that one. Does Rengifo foul on the third base side? Talked about Rengifo, and he's been impressive so far in spring. He did not have a good year at all last year for the Angels. Played well for the Angels in 2019. And of course, after the 2019 season, it looked like Rengifo might be dealt to the Dodgers, but that deal fell through. There's one that's fouled back. That deal was basically being reported as a done deal, the Angels and Dodgers. And that one never did transpire. Rengifo looking to regroup from a year ago, and so far so good this spring. Here's the 0-2. A pitch inside, it misses. Kolarek has thrown his share of pitches here in this inning as he faces his 6th batter. 1 ball, 2 strikes to count. 23 pitches in this inning for Kolarek. Next pitch took something off that one. It was low. Laying off that pitch, Rengifo. 2-2 the count.
How many is that? You got somebody warming up?
Go one more hitter stick and then slid him. Puts out.
Franklin Barreto is waiting on deck. He's yet to bat in the ball game. Took over for David Fletcher, batting out of his spot. Pitch misses again, low and away. So the count's full. So we'll see what develops on the payoff delivery. Everyone is set. Kolarek delivers, and he walked him. Good job by Rengifo there. He had gotten down in the count. Was having to bat with 2 strikes and was patient in that at bat and ends up drawing a walk. So that's going to load up the bases. And now going to have a little meeting at the mound as the A's pitching coach is out there. Scott Emerson. Looks like the Angels are also going to bring in a pinch runner for Suzuki at second. So the bases are loaded. Barreto will be the batter, and he'd like to get back at his old club, the Oakland A's, and we'll have a chance to do that. Jordan Adams is the base runner at second, running for Suzuki. So they're jammed for Barreto. Here's the pitch, and he goes after the first one and fouls it back behind the plate. Chatting with Angels new general manager Perry Manassian before the ball game. He was talking about Barreto, and Barreto was originally in the Toronto organization and then got dealt over to Oakland, and then Oakland traded him to the Angels last year for Tommy La Stella. Next pitch, that's a little bit low, and Perry Manassian very familiar with Barreto, who in the time that he was with Toronto was regarded as one of the better prospects in all of baseball. His career has shifted to a couple of other organizations. He's struggled to hit at the major league level. 1-1, grounds that one sharply, but a foul ball on the third base side. So the count's 1 ball, 2 strikes. 1-2 the count. Scott Schebler is waiting on deck. He came in to take over for Mike Trout, so hitting out of his spot as well. Long inning here for Kolarek. Angels have tied it up in this inning, trying to get the lead. Bases loaded, 2-strike pitch. Barreto swings and misses. He threw that one by him, struck him out, and that's how the inning will end. Angels have to settle for the 1 run on the homer by Upton. Had a couple of hits and leaves 3 on base. So the bottom of the 4th is next. It's a 2-2 game. Angels and A's here in Mesa on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Bottom of the 4th inning we go at Ho-Ho-Com Park in Mesa. Angels 2, the A's 2. Angels make a few changes. A new battery for the Angels. The new pitcher is SoCal native Patrick Sandoval, and the new catcher is Taylor Ward. Staying in the game, Jeremiah Jackson. He's at shortstop. And Jordan Adams stays in the ball game. He's in left field, and Jose Rojas is now playing first base for Albert. First pitch, and Chad Pinder fouls that one off from Patrick Sandoval, and the count's 0 balls and 1 strike. Taylor Ward, who's catching, was a catcher in college, and then the Angels moved him away from the catching position, as that one is lifted a long way foul down the right side. That was long strike off the bat of Chad Pinder. The count's 0-2. Angels used Ward, I think, in 1 game last season behind the plate. They've moved him around really in his pro career. He's played third base. He's played the outfield. There's a pitch that's low. But when he reported to camp, speaking of Taylor Ward this spring, he came early with the pitchers and catchers. And so now he's catching in his first game this spring. 1-2 the count. Joe Madden has said that Ward has looked very comfortable catching. There's a pitch a little bit low and chased there by Pinder. He goes after that one, chases it and misses it, struck him out. So Sandoval gets the first batter on a swinging strike. Tony Kemp will be the next batter. Patrick Sandoval replacing Kyle Keller. He ended up working an inning and a third, gave up a hit. It was a home run to Matt Olson. It was the only run he allowed. He did not walk any and struck out 2. Angels pitching already with 8 strikeouts in this game. We're only in the bottom of the 4th. Here's Sandoval's delivery. That's a little bit low and misses for a ball. The attendance here today in Mesa, 1,998, 1998 the attendance, and it is a sellout. Limited seating. That one's fouled back and out of play. 1 ball, 1 strike. So around the infield, the Angels look like this. Jose Rojas at first, Franklin Barreto at second, Luis Rengifo still in there at third, Jeremiah Jackson is the shortstop. All replacement players now out there in the outfield with Jordan Adams in left, Scott Schebler in center, Joe Adell in right, Taylor Ward is catching. 2 balls and 1 strike on Kemp. He doubled in the A's first run. That was in the bottom of the 2nd. Shohei Ohtani started the game for the Angels today. Topped out at 100 miles per hour. There's a pitch low on Kemp. 3-1. Shohei worked an inning and 2/3. Allowed 3 hits, 2 walks. A run it was earned, struck out 5. Every out recorded by Shohei coming on a strikeout. And he looked pretty solid today. Here's the pitch. That's inside on a 3-1, and Tony Kemp has a 1-out walk. So that's the first walk allowed by the Angels today. Batter for the A's now will be their catcher, Aramis Garcia. He walked his first time up, so actually a couple walks issued by the Angels today. Here's the pitch, and that one's a little bit low. 1 ball, no strikes to count. Patrick Sandoval trying to win a spot on the Angels opening day roster. He has had his ups and downs at the major league level. Left-hander ready, delivers, misses again, ball 2. So he walked Kemp. He's fallen behind on the 9-hole hitter. 2 balls and no strikes. Patrick Sandoval growing up. Albert Pujols was his favorite player when Patrick was a youngster following Major League Baseball. That one is low. Of course, he's been a teammate now of Albert's for a few seasons with the Angels. 3-0 the count on Garcia. Sandoval's been in the Angels organization since the Angels got him from the Astros in 2018. A toss over to first. Diving back to the bag goes Kemp. Tony Kemp will run a little bit, has pretty good speed. Little guy over there, the base runner Kemp. Sandoval's pitch, and that is nowhere close. He kind of aimed that one to the plate. It missed way low and inside. It was actually a very good step by Taylor Ward, the catcher. So back-to-back 1-out walks that put a couple runners on base. Marcano will get ready to step up again. Mentioned Tony Kemp, that base runner. He's the lead runner now at second. He goes about 5'6". That's how short he is. So here's Canna batting. 2-2 game here, bottom of the fourth, scheduled for 7. Next pitch, low again, and Sandoval's struggling with his command right now. Sandoval's going to take a walk off the pitching mound, try and collect his thoughts. Left-hander is ready. Eyes second, delivers, and again low. And boy, Sandoval just can't get his pitches over the strike zone. He's missing low on just about everything. And now we're going to have a little meeting at the mound. Matt Wise, who is the Angels interim pitching coach, and Wise had been away from Angels camp after testing positive for COVID-19, just returned a few days ago, returned this week. He's out there now trying to settle down Sandoval out on the mound. 2 balls and no strikes. The ball strike breakdown for Sandoval right now is not very good. He's walked the last 2 in a row. Last 10 pitches he's thrown, only 1 strike, and he got the leadoff batter Pinder on a strikeout and struck him out on 4 pitches, but all of a sudden the control has disappeared. Here's the 2-0. That's outside. It's now 3-0. Sometimes Patrick Sandoval can be his own worst enemy out there on the mound. And you can tell he's battling himself, trying to find that strike zone. Here's the pitch, and that one is low and inside. That's another 4-pitch walk. So after striking out the first batter, the next 3 have all walked in a row, and you just kind of wonder, how does this happen? But Sandoval now is in a bases loaded situation in this 2-2 game, and he has to face a veteran hitter in Elvis Andrus. So not a good situation here for Sandoval. He's going to have to try and figure things out. Sandoval last year when he was with the Angels, as he delivers, and that one is in there for a called strike. The one thing that Sandoval had a lot of trouble with a year ago was the home run ball, and he's having to throw strikes here with the bases loaded. Not a good situation. Angels begin to heat up the left-hander Thomas Pannone out in the bullpen. Here's the next delivery. This is bounced out near second base. Let's see. It's stopped there nicely by Jackson. Touches the bag and throws to first base, and that'll be a double play to end the inning. The youngster Jeremiah Jackson took charge out there, fielded the ball, went to the bag himself at second, fired a strike, and boy, he helped Sandoval get out of a jam there to end the inning. He's end up leaving a couple on base, failed to score. We're still tied at 2. We head to the 5th, scheduled for 7 on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Well, they call it wholesale changes, and that's what the Oakland A's have done here as we get ready to move to the 5th inning. They have a new pitcher. Brian Schlitter is out there, and they have a completely new infield. Seth Brown is now playing first base. Also a new second baseman. Pete Kozma is the second baseman. Veteran player, used to be with the St. Louis Cardinals for a number of years. They have a new shortstop as well,
Luis Pereira,
and that is Nick Allen.
and 38 Pete Cosma at second.
Here's the pitch. That's a ground ball and a fair ball off the bat of Schebler. That's going to roll all the way down in the left field corner. He will easily get to second base and has a double right there. So he greets Schlitter, does Schebler with a double. And the next batter for the Angels is going to be Joe Adell. This will be Adell's first time up today. Also, a new third baseman in the ball game for the Oakland A's, as Matt Chapman has left the game. And that is Vimael Machine. They have some new outfielders as well. Get to those in just a moment as Joe Adell steps up to the plate. Schebler leads off second. Angels trying to get their first lead today. It's a 2-2 game as we begin the fifth inning. First pitch on Adell is a ball. Joe Adell so far this spring, he is looking for his first hit. Gone 0 for 5. This would be a good spot here. Could give the Angels a lead. A single might bring in that runner from second. The pitch chopped foul over on the third base side. So it's a 1-1 count. The outfield look is different for the A's. They have Greg Dykman in right field. They have a new center fielder as well. And in center field is Buddy Reed. And they have a new left fielder. We'll get to him after the 1-1. Adell takes that pitch, and that one misses low for a ball. So the count 2 balls and 1 strike. New left fielder is Luis Pereira. And so that's it for Oakland. That's the changes for them. Garcia still remains their catcher as that one is fouled back behind the plate. So they have added a lot of new position players into this ball game. Two and two the count on Angels outfielder Joe Adell. Angels have 2 runs on 5 hits in this game. The A's have 2 runs, 4 hits. Here's the next pitch, and that's a little bit low, so Adell has worked a full count. Even though Adell hasn't had any hits yet, he has had some walks, and he's worked a lot of counts so far this spring, and he's worked a full count here against Schlitter. We'll see how this at bat plays out, and on the 3-2, that is a little bit inside, and that's ball 4. So the first 2 Angel batters on base. Threat brewing here. Jose Rojas will be the batter, and want to remind Angel fans the Angels Baseball Foundation stays involved by supporting education, food drives, and youth programs throughout the community. Visit angels.com/community for details. So here is Rojas ready to bat. And the first pitch, that one misses low on the left-handed batter. 1 ball, no strikes. Jose Rojas 2 for 6 so far this spring. SoCal native from Anaheim.
Jose Rojas now hitting is batting 4th. Ward is batting 5th. Jackson 6th. Adams 7th. Rest starters.
Here's the pitch. That one's low. It skips away from the catcher Garcia. The 2 runners will advance. So they move up on that pitch that wasn't handled by Garcia. See how they end up scoring that one. Now the Angels in a golden opportunity here to get their first lead of the day. 2-0 is the count. Here's the delivery. That's low. And boy, Schlitter is having problems with his location out there. The catcher Garcia goes out to the mound to have a word with him. Schlitter pitched briefly for the Oakland A's back in 2019. 6 games. No wins, no losses, ERA 3.72. He was in the Dodgers organization at one time, originally drafted by the Phillies. Did not play last season, the COVID season. There was no minor league baseball. So 3 balls and no strikes the count. Rojas waiting patiently in the batter's box. Here's the next pitch, and that is low, and that's ball 4, and that's another walk. Back-to-back walks. Bases are loaded. This kind of reminds you a little bit about the way Sandoval was struggling in the bottom of last inning. He had worked himself into a bases-loaded jam, but he got out of it with the double play ball fielded by the shortstop Jeremiah Jackson. So the batter now is Taylor Ward. He bats for the first time today. He's hitting out of Upton's spot. And the pitch, that's a little bit low. It misses for ball 1. 1 ball, no strikes. Justin Upton had a home run today. As Ward bats here with the bases loaded, we'll see what he can do. Here's the pitch, and that's right in there for a called strike. Taylor Ward this spring has hit a home run. Been his only hit, only 3 at bats for him coming into this ball game. 2-2 the score. 5th inning from Ho-Ho-Com Park. Next pitch, and that's a breaking ball that's low and away. 2 balls and 1 strike. Tomorrow the Angels will continue play in the Cactus League, and the Angels will be back at Tempe Diablo Stadium. Rockies will be taking on the Angels as that pitch is in there for a called strike. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Jose Quintana will go for the Angels. Derek Rodriguez will pitch tomorrow for Colorado. Sunday the Angels will host Seattle. Jaime Barria will start that one. Logan Gilbert will pitch for the Mariners. And here's the delivery. Chopped on the third base side. Fair ball. Skips off the glove of Machine, the third baseman. 1 run will score. 2 runs are in. Throw to third. Ball not handled cleanly. And the Angels have just gotten a pair right there and have taken their first lead of the day. It's 4-2. It's going to be an error on the third baseman, Machine. Chapman might have turned that one into a double play ball if he was still out there, but a new third baseman this inning. And so the Angels get some gifts right there. A couple of runs on that error by the third baseman. And the Angels will take it. 4-2 lead. Jeremiah Jackson will be the batter now. First time up for him. And runners at first and third. First pitch, that one on Jackson, he takes, and the first pitch a ball, the count 1 ball, no strikes. Jackson looking for his first hit this spring. He's had a couple of at bats, 0 for 2. Next delivery, high fly ball that's carrying deep out there into center field, out near the rim of the track under. Making the grab is Reed, the center fielder. Runner will tag from third, and the runner at first will tag as well. So that'll be a sac fly off the bat. Rojas scores on the sac fly off the bat of Jackson, and the Angels have a 5-2 lead. And some heads-up base running there by Taylor Ward to advance from first to second on that sac fly. So that is the first out in the inning. 3 are on the board. Angels lead it 5-2. At the plate is Jordan Adams. And the first pitch on the Angels left fielder was in there for strike 1. Here's the pitch. That's fouled off on the right side, out of play. Angels have Anthony Mulrine waiting on deck. He's a catcher in the Angels organization. And he will be batting for Kurt Suzuki, who's an Angel catcher, but he's been DHing today. There's one that's fouled off just to our right, backing out of play. So the count jumps to 0 balls and 2 strikes. A little bit of baseball news on this Friday. The Houston Astros are in the process of keeping 8 of their pitchers away from the team because of health and safety protocols. Astros train in West Palm Beach, Florida. So a precautionary move. There's players placed on the COVID-19 list right now, but it doesn't necessarily mean that any of them have tested positive for COVID. And also today, word that Aaron Boone, we mentioned a couple days ago, he was going to have a pacemaker installed. He's feeling a lot better after the operation, as Adams tried to check on that 1-2, and he is a strikeout victim. That'll be the second out. And Mulrine will be the new batter, and Aaron Boone, who had taken a leave of absence as the Yankee manager, is expected to return to the dugout sometime this weekend. So making a speedy recovery after having a pacemaker installed. Mulrine is the batter. Here's the pitch. That one pitched a little bit low for a ball. A lot of pitches in this inning by Schlitter, and he's not finished yet. A's do have action in their bullpen. They have a right-hander up, and here's the next delivery. There's a swing and a miss, and the count's even. It's 1 ball, 1 strike on Mulrine. Anthony Mulrine, former 25th round pick of the Angels. He's 22 years old. Takes that one for a called strike. He was drafted back in 2019. Played rookie ball that year for the Angels. He's in camp as a non-roster invitee. Did not play at all last year. And still very much in the infancy of his professional career. 1-2 the count as Mulrine backs out of the box. Schlitter is set, and his next delivery grounded on the right side of the infield. The second baseman Kozma has it, and he throws him out. That will end the inning. Angels do come up with 3. Had some gifts along the way. The costly error by the third baseman Machine, and we are headed to the bottom of the 5th. It's 5-2 Angels here in Mesa on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Patrick Sandoval will continue for the Angels as he gets ready to work, and his first pitch, this is lifted high in the air into left field. Traveling back is Adams out on the warning track, and Jordan Adams out there in left field makes the grab on that one. So he had to track that one. Got on that warning track, battled with it a little bit, but makes the play, and that'll be out number 1. So Machine retired on 1 pitch. Sandoval had to work really hard last inning to get out of a bases loaded 1-out jam, but he got the double play ball to do it. Pete Kozma is the batter. And here's the pitch, and that one is right in there for a called strike. Veteran player who signed a minor league deal with the A's this offseason. Trying to win a spot as a reserve infielder. Fouls that one off on the right side. Rojas chasing, but he is going to run out of room. It gets back and out of play. Pete Kozma did not play last season. He was with the Tigers organization in 2019, but played in AAA with Toledo. Career .215 hitter. He tested positive last year for COVID-19. And on that 2-strike delivery, he is a strikeout victim as he swings and misses that one, and that will be out number 2. So 2 away. Sandoval along the way in the strikeout department, picking up his second in the ball game. And the batter now will be Mitch Moreland, who has been their DH today. He's getting ready for his 3rd at bat. Pitch on its way. That's in there for a called strike. Sandoval looking a lot better in this inning after working out of that jam last inning. He got the first 2 outs here in this bottom of the 5th on 4 pitches. That one a strike on Moreland. Shift on 3 infielders on the right side. Just Jackson over in the shortstop area. Here's a pitch and misses low. Let's pause for stations to identify themselves on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West.
Forward to the Angels, number 40, Jesse Chavez. Chavez 40.
Pitch taken for a called strike by Moreland, and Sandoval is moved in front 1-2. A lefty-lefty matchup. Here's the pitch, and boy, that one did not miss by much. Sandoval thought he had him looking on a pitch. It was inside. So the count, 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here's the 2-2, chopped on the first base side, but a foul ball. Angels also today have Dylan Peters on the board to pitch. Jesse Chavez, who's back with the Angels, recently signed a minor league deal with the club. He's possibly available to pitch today, as is Thomas Pannone, who was warming up last inning when Sandoval was in some trouble. That bases loaded situation. 2-2. There's a swing and a miss, and the inning is over. So Sandoval found himself here in this ball game. His second inning of work, a lot better than the first, but he was also able to pitch out of the bases loaded jam in the first inning. We're headed to the 6th here in Mesa. Angels on top of the Oakland A's 5-2 on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Have a new pitcher and a new catcher for Oakland. The new catcher we're familiar with, Carlos Perez, former Angel, is behind the plate, and the new pitcher is Matt Blackham. He replaces Brian Schlitter, who the Angels scored 3 runs against last inning, although the runs were not all earned. And the pitch, this is a shot by Goslin in the center. It's going to drop in for a base hit. So Phil Goslin batting for the first time today, wastes little time, goes after the first pitch he sees in the game and lines a single in the center field. The Angels have a base runner. Barreto will be the next batter. Blackham on the hill for the Oakland A's. Right-hander is ready and gets the sign from his catcher Perez. Takes that one for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes.
Final lineup, Brian Schlitter, 1 inning, 1 hit, 3 runs, 1 earned, 2 walks, 1 strikeout.
Brian Schlitter, who the Angels scored the 3 runs against last inning. Only 1 of the runs ended up being earned. That error by Vimael Machine certainly was costly, the third baseman. Barreto swings at the next pitch, fouls that one back behind the plate. So the count's even. It's 1 ball, 1 strike. Matt Blackham, who's on the mound, has worked once this spring, a scoreless inning against the Reds. And in that inning was very impressive. He struck out the side. He's set. Here's the pitch, and that's a breaking ball chased by Barreto. Missed it. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Blackham, who's pitching, was in the Mets organization a year ago. Did not pitch last season for the Mets and signed in the offseason by the A's. Here's one bounce fair on the left side. It's going to roll down that left side now on a foul ground. That's going to be an extra base hit for Barreto. Moving from first to third base will be Gosselin, and the Angels have something brewing here. Back-to-back hits to start off the 6th inning with a 5-2 lead. And Schebler will be the next batter. Well, the Angels coming into this inning had scored in each of the last 3 innings and certainly threatening to get some more here in the 6th. Game scheduled for 7. Halos up 5-2. 5 runs, 7 hits for the Angels. 2 runs, only 4 hits for the Oakland A's. Here's the pitch, and that's chased and missed by Schebler for strike 1. No balls and 1 strike. When Schebler got his double, that got the Angels going last inning. Led off the top of the 5th with a double. Here's the next pitch. That's chased and fouled back behind the plate. 0-2 is the count on the Angels center fielder Scott Schebler. Angels have some action in the bullpen. It looks like the veteran Jesse Chavez warming up for the Angels, so figures to be coming in the bottom of the inning. Second tour of duty now with the Angels for Jesse Chavez, and Jesse Chavez had pitched in the past for Joe Madden with the Cubs, so they're acquainted. And the pitch, fly ball popped into left field. Let's see if it's deep enough to get the runner in. Catch is made by Barrera, tagging at third base, and coming in to score will be the lead runner as Gosselin comes in. Ball was cut off on the way to the plate, so that'll be a sac fly for Schebler, and the Angels increase the lead. It's now 6-2. Last 4 innings in a row the Angels have scored. Last couple of innings Angels have had sac flies to bring in runs, so doing some little things to put runs on the board. And here's Joe Adell set for his second at bat today. He walked and scored last inning. Pitch is not going to be thrown, and breaking for third base, trying to steal the bag, is Barreto, and he's going to be thrown out. Well, Barreto broke, and Blackman saw him out of the corner of his eye and fired to third base, and waiting with the tag was Machine there. And Barreto ends up being an easy out, trying to steal third base. Just did not time that one right at all. So that's the second out. And at the plate taking the pitch for a strike is Joe Adell. At play at third base, pitcher to third baseman, 1-5 on the caught stealing. Blackman working now with 2 outs, delivers on Adell. And there's a pitch he chases and misses and falls behind as Joe Adell. No balls and 2 strikes. Angels trailed a couple of times today, but lead this ball game 6-2. Here's the pitch. That's high and inside on Joe Adell. Lays off that pitch. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Blackman is pitcher number 5 of the day for the Oakland A's. Their starter went a couple of innings, and the relievers have each gone an inning apiece. There's a swing and a miss by Adell on that 1-2 delivery, struck him out, and that is how the inning will end. So Adell retired. Angels do get a run in the inning, had a pair of hits, and do not leave anyone on base. Bottom of the 6th is coming up. 6-2 Angels here at Ho-Ho-Com Park in Mesa on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Jesse Chavez, who just recently signed with the Angels, will take over. He will be pitcher number 4 this afternoon. Chavez last year with the Texas Rangers struggled. 18 games, no wins, no losses. His ERA was very high last year, 6.88. Was bothered by some shoulder problems and also had a issue with his big right toe last year. Here's the pitch, and that's lined in the gap by Barrera on the first pitch from Chavez. That'll drop into left center. Breaking for second is Barrera, and the throw to second is going to be a little bit late, and that will be a leadoff hustle double right there by their left fielder. So Barrera greets Chavez with the leadoff hit. Buddy Reed will be the next batter. Chavez replacing Patrick Sandoval, who had an interesting day. He pitched 2 scoreless innings, but he had to really work hard to do it. Although his second inning was a clean inning. Sandoval, 2 innings, no hits, no runs, walked 3, struck out 3. Here's the pitch. This is lifted high in the air into center field. Out by the wall, out on the warning track, making the catch against the fence out there is Schebler. Tagging at second and moving on to third base will be Barrera. That one just stayed in the ballpark, and Schebler went back as far as he could, back leaning against the padded wall out there, makes the catch on that long fly out for out number 1. So Seth Brown will get set to bat. This will be his first time up.
Come on, Bronny.
Brown, a player who's trying to win a reserve spot for the A's, swings at that pitch, and he hits another one to center field. This one camping under is Schebler. It's deep enough, though, to get the runner in, and tagging and scoring on the sac fly will be Barrera. The A's get a run now, and it's a 6-3 Angels lead. 2 outs here in the bottom of the 6th. Game scheduled for 7. Nick Turley is up for Oakland. Carlos Perez, the former Angel, will be the batter. He's trying to win a backup catching spot with the A's. Takes the pitch, and that one is on the outside part of the plate. That's in there for a called strike. Pitch taken, and that's in there as well for a strike, and the count is 0-2. Carlos Perez did not play last season. Here's the next delivery, and he rips one foul down the left side. Boy, that ball was clobbered. Way foul, however, and the count's 0-2. Carlos Perez was in the Orioles organization. Played in 2019 in AAA for Baltimore. Their AAA club hit .243. Next pitch, there's another one. He hits well down the left side, and that one is going to go foul. He's hit back-to-back pitches out of the ballpark, but foul. And even the outs given up by Chavez here in this inning have been deep outs. So 2 strikes to count. And the 0-2, that's lined into left center field, and that's going to fall in for a base hit. Playing it in on a hop will be Jordan Adams, left fielder. Did a good job to play that ball back in quickly. Carlos Perez on with a 2-out single, second hit in the inning for the A's. And now getting ready for his first at bat this afternoon is Greg Dykman. Left-handed batter hitting out of Mark Canha's leadoff spot. Canha was 0 for 2 today, their left fielder, and the first one on Dykman he takes for ball 1. 1 ball, no strikes. And here's the delivery. That one is right in there for a called strike. Talking about Chavez replacing Sandoval. I mentioned Patrick Sandoval, kind of a odd outing. There was a stretch where he threw 11 straight pitches out of the strike zone. He walked the bases loaded, but pitched out of the bases loaded jam in the bottom of the 4th, as that one is chased and the count's 1-2. And then in the 5th inning, Sandoval completely turned things around. He retired 3 in a row, threw only 10 pitches in that inning, 8 for strikes, had a pair of strikeouts. So he found himself out on the mound. His second inning of work, it was a lot better. Here's one grounded sharply on the left side. Gosselin, the third baseman, has it, throws to first in time, and that will end the inning. A run for the A's. They had a couple of hits in the inning, and they leave 1 runner on base. The 7th is next. We're scheduled for 7 innings. We head to the top of the 7th. Angels leading Oakland 6-3. The Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Oakland A's have a new pitcher, Nick Turley, their 6th pitcher of the day. He replaces Matt Blackman. Blackman worked last inning, gave up a couple of hits to the Angels. A run it was earned. Had a strikeout along the way. So the Angels get ready to start things off. Jose Rojas, the first batter, lefty-lefty matchup. And here's the first pitch. That one misses a little bit high.
46 Pannone warming again in the bullpen.
Angels have Thomas Pannone up, so it would appear he's going to be coming in to try and get the final 3 outs. He's actually had a couple of saves for the Angels this spring, and he might have a shot at another one. Turley, who is pitching, is from Southern California.
1 run earned, 1 strikeout.
Westlake High School. He's ready, and the pitch, and that one there, it is tipped foul right by home plate. So you have a couple of SoCal natives squaring off against each other here, Turley and Jose Rojas of the Angels. Here's the next delivery. That's fouled off on the left side. If you've followed us since spring training games began on Sunday when the Angels opened things up against the San Francisco Giants in Scottsdale, you know we've kind of done the spring training broadcast a little bit differently here in 2021. In the past, Jose Mota would be alongside with me for the simulcast on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Next delivery, here's a high fly ball that's lifted deep out into right center field, and it's out of here. Jose Rojas wins that matchup of SoCal natives right there with a home run. Angels today have had 3 homers. Rengifo, Upton, and now Rojas. And the Angels put their 7th run on the board in this ball game and lead it 7-3. Jose Rojas, he always seems to get his share of hits for the Angels here in spring training, and this spring starting up the same way as usual for him. There's a pitch a little bit low on Taylor Ward, who reached on a costly error by Machine, the third baseman, a couple of innings ago in the top of the 5th inning. 7-3 Angels on top. Turley is ready, and the pitch, and that's fouled back. Mentioning our spring training broadcast, starting tomorrow, we're going to change things up a little bit more on our spring training broadcasts. And tomorrow's game, the Fox Sports West announcers will be Jose Mota and Mark Gubizaw. I'll have the broadcast on the Angels Baseball Radio Network, and Jose and Gooby will do the next 4 broadcasts on Fox Sports West. Saturday, Sunday, Monday of next week. Tuesday, the Angels are off. Jose and Mark Gubizaw will do the telecast on Wednesday as well. And that one's a little bit low. And then we'll kind of flip back and forth from time to time the rest of the spring. Some of the games you'll hear yours truly on the TV side and the radio side. There'll be some other games where Jose and Mark Gubizaw will be together, so we'll keep you posted. But again, tomorrow it'll be Jose and Gooby broadcasting the Angels game against the Rockies on Fox Sports West. 3-2 is the count. Here's the next pitch, and on the 3-2, Ward takes, and that one is in there for a called third strike. So that's out number 1. Jeremiah Jackson will bat. He's had a sac fly since coming into the ball game. Here's the pitch on its way. That one pitch that bounces in for a ball. 1 ball, no strikes to count. Turley, who's on the mound, 50th round pick of the New York Yankees. And the delivery, that one misses for a ball. Turley has moved around in his professional career. Pitched in the big leagues in the past for the Twins back in 2017. He was with the Pirates for part of last season, 25 games for them. He's been in the Giants, White Sox, Red Sox organizations as well. Now signing as a free agent, minor league deal with the Oakland A's, trying to catch on with Oakland this season. Their bullpen is fairly stacked, but left-handers always seem to have a way to open up eyes if they pitch well. Next delivery, and that one a little bit low. When Turley was selected in the 50th round by the Yankees, that was way back in 2008. He's a big left-hander, 6'4", 235. Fastball top out around 97. Curveball. 0-3 last year with the Pirates. 4.98 ERA. Here's a shot on a hop back to the tall pitcher Turley, and he jumped up, nabs that one, and gets the throw over to first base to rob Jackson of a possible hit up the middle. Good play by the pitcher there. Helped his own cause. Second out in the inning. So with 2 gone, batter for the Angels is Jordan Adams, the Angels left fielder. Since he's been in the ball game, he's been up once with a strikeout. Here's the pitch, and that's right in there for a called strike. Angels 3 outs away from taking care of business against the defending AL West champs, the Oakland A's, today in the first meeting of the spring between the two. Pitch right in there for a called strike. Well, Oakland is the team to beat, I guess, in the division. We'll see how they are challenged. If the Angels challenge them, how good will the Astros be this year? They made the playoffs last year, although they had a losing record. On the 2-strike pitch, that one there, Adams thought it was a little inside, moved off the plate. It's called a strike, and the inning ends on the called 3rd strike. Angels got the leadoff home run in the inning by Rojas. That was the only hit, and we are headed to the bottom of the 7th inning. Angels leading the Oakland A's 7-3. The Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. Thomas Pannone is the new Angel pitcher as he gets set to work here in the final bottom of the 7th inning. And here's his first pitch. First one on Nick Allen. He takes it for a ball, 1-0. Pannone replaces Jesse Chavez. Chavez worked last inning, gave up 2 hits, a run. It was earned. He did not walk or strike out anyone. And the next pitch, that's fouled back behind the plate. With the Angels up by 4, this is not a save situation for Pannone, who has gotten a couple this spring. Trying to win a spot as a left-hander in the Angels bullpen. Thomas Pannone. He's had major league experience with Toronto, and the next delivery, that one is low. So 2 balls and 1 strike. Don't forget, coming up after the ball game, post-game coverage on both the Angels Baseball Radio Network and Fox Sports West. On Fox Sports West, Jose Mota and Carlin Baith will have Angels live for you, and yours truly will have some post-game analysis for you on the radio side on the Angels Baseball Radio Network. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here's the 2-2, and that is a called 3rd strike. That one painted that outside corner. A good-looking pitch there from Pannone, and Allen is retired. That's out number 1. Angels pitching today, 11 strikeouts. Next batter up is Vimael Machine, and so far since coming in, he's had 1 at bat, 0 for 1. Here's the pitch, and that one misses a little bit inside. Strange game today. One of the amazing stats in this ball game. The Angels have scored 7 runs, yet the Angels today were 0 for 7 with runners in scoring position, but they still scored 7 runs. Angels had some solo homers today. Here's a high fly ball lifted to left field, and out there on the warning track near the wall, making the catch on that one, is Jordan Adams. It's the 2nd time he's retired Machine on a ball hit deep. Back in the bottom of the 5th inning, Machine hit one down in that left field corner that Adams had to run down. This one here, he had to back up to the wall to make the catch in left field. So the A's are down to their final out in the ball game, and Pete Kozma will be the next batter. A's today with runners in scoring position, just 1 for 8. Have had 4 home runs hit in this game between the two teams. They've all been solo shots today. Here's the pitch, grounded sharply on the left side, stopped nicely by Goslin. His throw is in time, and the ball game is over. So Pannone comes in, and he slams the door shut, retires all 3 batters he faces. And the Angels come away with the victory here today as they beat the Oakland A's by the final score of 7-3. Angels now 3-2-1 so far this spring, and the A's are now 2-3. I want to thank you for joining us here today from Ho-Ho-Com Park in Mesa. For those of you watching on Fox Sports West, Harlan Baith and Jose Moto will have more post-game analysis on Angels Live. I'll have some more for you on the radio side when we get back. Again, our final today, Angels over the Oakland A's in a game that went 7 innings. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. We'll talk with you tomorrow on the Angels Baseball Radio Network and on Fox Sports West.
It's back, guys. Check